Cool Figure TV. Revolutionary salute. Revolutionary salute. Like, share, subscribe. Welcome to the House of Revolution. You know, I'm your humble host, the Yao Mean of Revolution. Over 110 dead so far. 160 still missing. The great Texas flood disaster. Before we get into that, be sure to wipe your feet. That means hit the like button. You in the House of Revolution. Like, share, subscribe, support the platform. Y'all, the hardest working revolutionary is back. Revolutionists for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We got some revolutionary dinner for y'all. What the hell is going on in Texas? We got to dig deep, but let's see what the governor has to say.
The governor of Texas, Republican Greg Abbott, said there are at least 161 people known to be missing.
That's a nightmare.
In Kerr County alone. We previously had been told that the number was closer to 20 for Texas as a whole, but now we're being told 161 missing. The governor vowed that each person missing will be found.
We will not stop until every missing person is accounted for. Know this also. There very likely could be more added to that list.
This shocking news that the toll of those missing is much higher than previously thought, at least 8 times higher, comes as the death toll of those confirmed lost in the flood also continues to grow. At least 109 people, 30 of them children, have been confirmed dead. We are learning more about the victims. Some of them include Anna Margaret Bellows. She was only 8 years old. She's among the victims from Camp Mystic. Another 8-year-old Mystic camper, Lenny McCown, the Austin American-Statesman, published a statement from their father saying his daughter, quote, filled our hearts with so much joy we cannot begin to explain. 8-year-old Mystic campers Hannah and Rebecca Lawrence are also on this grim list. Their parents say they were twins who, quote, shared a bond only twins could understand. Also lost Odessa police officer Bailey Martin. Odessa Police Department saying that Martin was on a trip with his family to the Guadalupe River near Kerrville, Texas, for the 4th of July holiday weekend. These families, along with so many others, are going through unimaginable pain and grief. Meanwhile, some officials in Texas are facing some serious questions about preparedness and whether they acted on any flood prevention measures in this region referred to in Texas as Flash Flood Alley, in this area where flash flood killed 10 campers in 1987. Today, the Lieutenant Governor of Texas, Dan Patrick, says flood warning sirens could well have saved lives.
But the city can't afford it. Then the state will step up, and we need to have these in place by the next summer. We've had flash floods before, nothing like this, but had they heard those sirens screaming out loud, maybe that would have made them get out of their trailers or their tents and climb to safety.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
We will dive into why such sirens were not installed in hard-hit Kerr County, where as of now nearly 90 people have been confirmed dead. Despite sensible, logical questions about what could have been done better and where blame may lie for this tragedy being as bad as it has been, the Texas governor just minutes ago suggested that asking who's to blame is, quote, the language of losers. And the governor compared this to a football game and a football quarterback who promises to do better next time instead of pointing the finger of blame. I assure our viewers that we do not think that questioning officials in the Texas government about warnings that were unheeded and advice from experts that was not taken, we do not think that's the language of losers. We think it is the duty of accountability and a responsibility of all of us after such a horrific tragedy. Let's go straight to CNN's Isabel Rosales in Kerrville, Texas. And Isabel, we just heard from Governor Abbott that there are now 161 known people to be missing just in Kerr County.
Right, Jake. I am in Center Point, which is in Kerr County. And by far, this has been the most devastated county through this flash flood incident. I mean, you're talking about over 80 people that have died here in Kerr County alone. So this figure has been incredibly important. This is a figure, the number of missing that reporters, community members have been asking for since this occurred on July the 4th, every single press conference, to try to get an understanding of what volunteers like this and first responders are looking for. How many people are they out scouring the Guadalupe River to try to find? So far, we've only had really an understanding of Camp Mystic, the counselors and the campers there, that number. And now we're seeing it jump from over 20 to 161 known to be missing here in Kerr County. So this is an important figure to try to for us and the community to try to get an understanding of how many people still are out there that need to be answers need to be given to their loved ones. And of course, we heard the question from a reporter there asking the governor, who is to blame here for this loss of life and the lack of warning in the Texas floods? And as you mentioned, he says, this is the talk of losers. We don't do that in Texas. Giving an analogy of football here, that the winning team focuses on solutions and not on a blame game. Jake.
Isabel, we'll touch on that in a second, but CNN has some brand new reporting involving Camp Mystic, the site of so much loss. Tell us more.
Right. So CNN just obtained new records that show that 2 days before these deadly floods, a state inspector was actually on site at Camp Mystic and certified that the camp had an emergency plan in place, a plan that was posted there at Camp Mystic for counselors and campers to take a look at. He also certified that all the cabins and all the buildings were safe. This would have included the Bubble Inn, where most of those youngest of campers were staying. That building that was devastated, we saw images of the walls just being busted through. It was very, very close to the river there. On July 2nd, that inspector of the Texas Department of State and Health Services also—
It's so easy to see they did this on purpose. They want all these people, no more camping here. They gonna move out the way. It's probably a bunch of lithium and natural resources, rare earth minerals under there. They're gonna dig into that about 5 years from now. But anyway, it's so easy to know this. They did it. It's because this is 2025, bro. 110 people dead, over 163 missing, and they're saying, well, only if they had the proper sirens here to have warned them. Bro, I'm in Galveston County. The 1900 storm, that's the same thing they said about the 1900 storm. Oh, the people would have survived if they had knew a deadly storm was coming. It's 125 years later. Damn well you knew that storm was coming because you created it with seed clock. They created it. They done it. So all of this, the proper sirens, that's all nonsense, bro. They did that. It's 125 years since the 1900 storm, and the people dying the same way. The kids are dying the same way they died in 1900 in Galveston. Make it make sense.
Confirm that Camp Mystic had a state-mandated plan for, quote, emergency shelter and for evacuation in case of an emergency. So in light of this report, in light of all of this, it's raising questions on whether that disaster plan was adequate and whether it was followed in this moment of an emergency through all of this flooding. Now, we did reach out to the state health department. A spokesperson told us that they do not maintain copies of these emergency plans, but every single time that they do an annual inspection, they go on site and they review that, and that the plan, Jake, would include what to do in the case of flooding. Now, we did reach out to Camp Mystic. They didn't respond to CNN's phone calls or emails about this report. But we do want to note that counselors did, in those moments, according to witness accounts, go and help those campers get to higher ground. But as we saw, the waters rose so quickly that for many of them, there simply wasn't enough time to get.
That's the same thing they did in the 1900 storm. The nuns of the school, because a school full of children, the nuns tied the kids to themselves. And they say some of that probably killed everybody that was, everybody who they probably would did better if they wasn't all tied together. But they was trying to think quick, tied all the kids to the adults, and all of them, drowned together. Similar thing. How can the same thing happen 125 years later with all the technology they got? Because they did it.
to get out of danger. We also, CNN spoke to a camp counselor there at Camp Mystic who says that there was a power outage at 4 in the morning. So that would have meant that the PA system announcing an emergency wouldn't have been operational. She also told CNN that per policy, phones were not allowed for camp counselors or the campers there. So that would have meant that they wouldn't have received those emergency alerts from the National Weather Service either, indicating a total lack of communication, a lack of a blackout. It's not clear here if that emergency plan for Camp Mystic would have included what to do in the case of not having communication.
No way. It's no way in hell that those people had no way of communicating with the outside world. That's a safety. They see, but they want to lie. They want to lie. They can't explain to people what exactly happened.
About their double standards and how you wouldn't give a damn about other children, and how there's children in ICE detention right now who y'all don't give two fucks about. There's no prayers going up for them, but we're supposed to stop the world and stop everything we're doing to go and hunt for these little missing white girls.
The floods in Texas, natural calamity or secret government experiment gone sideways?
Everybody got the forecast from the National Weather Service, right? You all got it. You're all in media. You got that forecast. It did not predict the amount of rain that we saw.
And then there's a Houston pediatrician who just got fired for saying flood victims got what they voted for. This isn't just a tragedy. It's a political power cake, and someone's fueling the flames. What if everything you've been told about the flood and the real reason some people are outraged is hiding an even bigger scandal?
Original forecast that we received on Wednesday from the National Weather Service predicted 3 to 6 inches of rain in the Concho Valley and 4 to 8 inches of rain in the Hill Country. We worked with our own meteorologists to fine-tune that weather statement, and as many of you know, and many of you in broadcast journalism and meteorology, you can go back and look at your own forecast, and the amount of rain that fell in this specific location was never in any of those forecasts.
This rain event sat on top of that and dumped more rain than what was forecasted on both of those forks. When we got the report, it was about 7 feet or so on the South Fork, and within a matter of minutes, it was up to 29 feet, and all of that converged at the Guadalupe, and that's where we saw those very quick rise in flood.
But listen, everybody got the forecast from the National Weather Service, right? You all got it. You're all in media. You got that forecast. It did not predict the amount of rain that we saw.
Here's what's coming first. The Texas floods that killed over 80 people, including kids from Camp Mystic. Was it simply nature or something engineered? We got to unpack the flood warnings, the conspiracy chatter, and political blame game. Then we've got to dive into the toxic fallout of a pediatrician's Facebook tirade, her claim that victims got what they voted for, and why compassion is being weaponized. Ready for this full breakdown? Guys, strap in, because this video will slam you with facts, fired up questions, and a call for action.
They can't come look. We've lost our cars, everything. We've lived here for 30 years, and this has never happened. So anybody, please, if you have a boat or something, I need help. I need to get my dad out of here. It's starting to smell like sewer in here.
So from July 4th to 7th, Central Texas experienced an unprecedented flood event that went wild online, and not just from the rain. A powerful mesoscale connective complex powered by remnants of Tropical Storm Barry dumped up to 20 inches of rain in mere hours. The Guadalupe River jumped over 26 feet in 45 minutes, turning quiet campgrounds into deadly flash floods. Local flood shields? Minimal. Kerr County has repeatedly been denied federal flood warning grants since 2018, leaving systems dangerously outdated, but that's just the beginning. Flood watches turned into flash flood emergencies with alerts issued around 4 a.m. But when dawn came, people were caught bleeding wet. Phones didn't buzz. Camp Mystic lost 27 girls and a counselor in one night. Republican Rep Chip Roy blamed the warning system, asking why afterward. Meanwhile, FEMA funding shrank under Trump era cuts, raising alarms about weakened forecasting. Is this negligence or something more deliberate? Flood watches turned into flash flood emergencies with alerts issued by 4 a.m. But when dawn came, people were caught bleeding, wet. Phones didn't buzz. Camp Mystic lost 27 girls and a counselor in one night. Republican Representative Chip Roy blamed the warning system and only asking why afterwards. Meanwhile, FEMA funding shrank, and that raises alarms about weakened forecasting. Is this negligence or something more deliberate? Enter Dr. Christina B. Prost, whatever her name is. She's a Texas pediatrician, fired after a now deleted Facebook post. She wrote smugly, Kerr County MAGA voted to gut FEMA. They deny climate change. May they get what they voted for. Now, this is about flood victims, including children. Bluefish Pediatrics wasted no time cutting ties to her. Memorial Hermann echoed the condemnation. The Texas Medical Board opened a potential investigation, though formal action is still pending, okay? But this was more than an online outburst. It cracked open to bigger truths about how disgusting people are when it comes to their political bias, that even the lives of children don't matter as long as you can dunk and score political points.
Not only deserve to be fired, but she deserves to lose her license practicing medicine. Medicine is you're as a doctor, you're supposed to be a healer. You're not supposed to see red or blue or Democrat or Republican. And to make light of such a tragedy, she should never be hired as a doctor again. She should be working at Walmart, McDonald's somewhere after making light. I don't care how much I dislike Democratic policies. I would never, if it happened in California, say, well, that's what they deserve. That's not what they deserve.
Now we've got to ask some questions. If flood warnings existed, why weren't they heeded? Who dropped the ball? Local governments, the NWS, or someone else? If FEMA got cut, does that explain why alerts failed? Or is that the excuse? And Dr. Prost's hateful post? Was it a reflection of a deeper toxic mindset or simply shameless exploitation? Senator Schumer is calling for probes into National Weather Service staffing cuts resulting from downsizing. Meanwhile, meteorologists from Wired claim that NWS did issue warnings, but maybe just a little too late. So is it the cuts crippled forecasting, or is it the local failures or silence that buried alerts even when they were issued? Now, of course, Rosie O'Donnell decided to jump in here and blame Trump for dismantling NWS and indirectly causing deaths, calling his leadership immoral. But Trump denies budget cuts had taken even effect yet. Meanwhile, there's conspiracy theorists, people who are calling out the floods as fake weather from cloud seeding, or either it was geoengineering. That narrative weaponizes tragedy. Some say to discredit climate science, others to distract from the failings of governance. Is this genuine environmental disaster or political theater?
Can somebody please tell me what the hell Rosie O'Donnell is talking about?
And what a horror story in Texas. The flash floods in Texas, the Guadalupe River. 51 missing, 51 dead, more missing. Children at a camp. And you know, when the president guts all of the early warning systems and the weathering forecast abilities of the government, these are the results that we're going to start to see on a daily basis, because he's put this country in so much danger by his horrible, horrible decisions and this ridiculously immoral bill that he just signed into law.
What the fuck?
As Republicans cheered. People will die as a result, and they've started already.
What the fuck? I don't know. This bitch is like has extreme Trump derangement syndrome or what. You go from talking about a tragedy where people lost their lives, children are fucking missing or not here no more, to blaming Trump. What the fuck? Trump was doing the fucking rain dance, all that shit to make the rain and the floods and shit. I don't understand this shit. Like, what the fuck is Rosie O'Donnell ass talking about? What is she even fucking known for? Maybe I'm just too young to realize or remember her, but what is she even known for? A fucking talk show? Ricky Lake looking ass? But how the hell you blaming Trump for this shit? And how you blaming his bill? Okay, let's say the bill had something to do with something, right? The bill don't even take effect to like next year. How are you blaming them? Why are you even still in America? Wasn't you supposed to go to Ireland, or didn't Ireland kick you out and told your ass to come back to America? Whatever the fuck happened. Why are you still talking, lady? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you're just blaming shit on Trump. The bill caused the flood, and it took the lives of the people, because when Trump signed the bill, a big hurricane. Shut the fuck up, lady. The fuck? Man, listen, what y'all think about this shit? This shit crazy as hell. Rosie O'Donnell need to go to fucking somewhere, a mental hospital or a goddamn retirement home at this point, bitch.
Now, the conversation exploded online, okay? With some point users are pointing fingers at the government cuts to parks, wildlife, FEMA, and staffing. Some dismiss it as conspiracy or paranoia. Others see it as a plot, collapsing trust in institutions. But what's more damaging is the sudden disaster, or is it the sudden doubt? And what's even weirder is that the cuts have not been implemented yet. So I don't understand how cuts can even go hand in hand with this. And must we forget all the floods in North Carolina and natural disasters that were an absolute catastrophic failure under Biden and FEMA? Are we going to really pretend that FEMA was not paying millions of dollars for illegal migrants to be in housing in New York? Misspending of funds gone missing. This is half the reason why Biden lost the election. So now they're pointing fingers at Trump, but none of the cuts affected this yet, guys. So I'm not sure where this is coming from. Again, other than people trying to use tragedy, the loss of lives of these children, and trying to use it to dunk and score political points. It's absolutely abhorrent.
About their double standards and how you wouldn't give a damn about other children, and how there's children in ICE detention right now who y'all don't give two fucks about. There's no prayers going up for them, but we're supposed to stop the world and stop everything we're doing to go and hunt for these little missing white girls.
Y'all caught the fucking news on me. So Sade, however the fuck you say your name, you out of all people, especially you being a pastor's wife, should know your image as his wife matters. And the fact that you're going around on TikTok and social media in general spewing nothing but hate, I'm thinking that you think nothing's gonna happen to, you or your husband, but in reality what you're doing can have a negative impact on your husband's career. Either he could get fired, demoted, whatever the case may be, you know, in a congregation, because the video I found on Facebook seems like your husband is a pastor at a very old style church, which means you guys believe in old style values of Christianity, Lutheran, whatever the case may be, because I didn't look that much into your guys' church, but I did find a video with your husband in it. And your husband's white, and you're on here spewing hate to all the white children when you married a white man. That's funny. Not funny, haha, but funny. And then you're spewing hate to your child, however old he may be. I don't fucking know because I don't know you from Adam, but you're telling your son, choose your white friends wisely. While the same case may be, could be for a white person saying, choose your black friends wisely, because, you know, that old saying, hands up, don't shoot, you know, that can go into effect of basically what you're trying to insinuate. And you're trying to insinuate and paint that all white people are bad people, that all white people hate people of any type of color, whether they're Mexican, Chinese, Japanese, whatever, is incorrect. Like, in fact, I have a black family member that I found through doing a DNA history of me, and he's my cousin. I have very close friends who are black. Doesn't mean I hate them due to their skin color. If I'm gonna hate you, it's because of something you've done to me or my children, or whatever the case may be. But that's why I'm gonna hate you. I don't hate somebody due to their color of their skin, because they can't control what color their skin they are at all. just like I can't. So you need to learn how to, you know, spew more goodness and etc. And maybe not be a stupid bitch, because you're really gonna ruin your husband's career by your big ass mouth. You know, hopefully this sinks into your little pea brain. Have the day you deserve, dumbass.
There's people in it. Oh my God, there's so many people in it.
I know I'm probably going to get canceled for this, but Camp Mystic is a whites only girls Christian camp. They don't even have a token Asian. They don't have a token black person. It is a all white only conservative Christian camp. If you ain't white, you ain't right, you ain't getting in, you ain't going, period. And I think that context needs to be said in this matter.
No, it doesn't. This is a perfect example of some of the people in our society who obsess over race. They make everything about race. Girls are dying and washed up in a flood, and her first thought is, let's look at the racial demographic of the people who are missing in this camp. It's pathetic. People like this are the people who work and keep racial issues alive. She talks as if this camp only allows white girls, with no proof other than simply pictures. What if it's just simply white people primarily have been the ones that decide to go there? Different cultures do different things. Or maybe there have been multiple races of people there that just aren't in the pictures. I know, it could be a crazy concept, but people with this mentality are the ones who are harming our country. They're not helping anything. And it's pathetic. Again, girls are dying. They've been swept up in a flood. And she's thinking, well, the people behind this, there's a lot of white people there. I'm not seeing much color, so they must be racist. And we need to know the context behind that. Be quiet. No, we don't need your context through your biased racial lens. We don't need that. And we don't want to hear it. These are the type of people who are obsessed with finding racial issues. It's pathetic. We should be focused on what matters, which is finding the people who are missing, not the racial demographic of a camp.
I think here's the lesson. Public tragedy is now a political battlefront. Floods expose failing infrastructure, climate vulnerability, and government breakdown. And when someone calls that out as a failure, like Dr. Pross, society punishes them, but loses focus on why the flood alerts didn't work in the first place. We went from natural disaster to political execution. What we need is accountability, not outrage. We need to ask who ignored the warnings, who defunded FEMA, who actually is the problem at FEMA, like the last administration, who thought a Facebook post would be a great political strategy, but just ended up being a failure. This isn't just rain and ruin. It's a political storm built on neglect, hatred, and cover-ups. Flood victims died under walls of water, walls of silence. A pediatrician's post raged at politics, but it shouldn't blind us to the policy failures that put people at risk. This video isn't about outrage, it's about action. Demand investigations into NWS cuts, push for local alert systems, and resist letting political distractions drown real accountability, because the truth is flowing and it's on us to catch it.
There's people in it. Oh my God, there's so many people in it. Please tell me you're getting this video. Yeah, camp's over.
The recent flooding in Central Texas has resulted in the tragic loss of over 90 lives, making it one of the deadliest natural disasters in the state's recent history. Among the deceased are 28 children, and dozens remain missing as rescue and recovery operations continue.
160.
Kerr County sustained the brunt of the devastation, especially at Camp Mystic, a girls' Christian summer camp established in 1926 along the Guadalupe River. The camp suffered heartbreaking losses, with 27 confirmed fatalities and 10 campers, plus one counselor still unaccounted for. A profound figure in this calamity was Dick Eastland, the camp's owner, who lost his life during courageous rescue efforts. Despite the rapidly rising floodwaters, he persisted in evacuating children and ensuring their safety until swept away. His selflessness and bravery embody the human spirit, confronting overwhelming peril. The flooding began during the early hours of July 4th, when a torrential downpour delivered between 5 and 11 inches of rain over a matter of hours. In the town of Hunt, the Guadalupe River rose approximately 26 feet in 45 minutes, overwhelming gauges and local infrastructure. Further downstream in Kerrville, water levels neared 29 feet, approaching historic heights last recorded in 1987. Flash flood warnings were issued, but the extreme speed and force of the floodwaters left residents little time to evacuate, exacerbating the toll. Meteorological analysis identified the flood's cause as a stalled mesoscale convective system that drew tropical moisture from remnants of Tropical Storm Barry. A stationary front and an upper-level trough produced repeated storm cells passing over the same areas, a phenomenon known as training. The region's steep, porous limestone terrain accelerated runoff, converting heavy rain into a rapidly moving destructive surge. Such terrain, characterized by thin soil and karst features, limits water absorption, thereby intensifying surface flooding. The flood's physical and economic damage is vast. Roads and bridges across Kerr and neighboring counties were destroyed or blocked by debris. Over 140 bridges and culverts are undergoing structural safety inspections. Several water treatment facilities sustained critical damage, prompting boil water advisories affecting thousands of residents. Power outages impacted more than 20,000 homes, with utility crews working continuously to restore electricity. The projected economic losses are estimated in the hundreds of millions of dollars, significantly affecting agriculture, tourism, and local businesses that form the backbone of the region's economy. Amid the overwhelming destruction, the response of emergency crews and local communities has been extraordinary. Over 400 first responders mobilized swiftly, executing more than 850 rescues within 36 hours. Utilizing boats, helicopters, and drones, rescue teams saved numerous lives despite dangerous conditions. One of the most heroic acts during the devastating floods was that of Julian Ryan, a 27-year-old father from Ingram, Texas. He tragically lost his life while valiantly saving his family. Despite sustaining a severe injury while ensuring their escape, he prioritized their safety before succumbing to his wounds. His selfless courage has been deeply honored by the community as a powerful symbol of bravery amid this disaster. May his soul rest in peace.
They are evacuating us due to flooding, and I would say that that's important right now. That river is not supposed to be there.
Y'all, look at this. Oh my God. It's crazy. We drove over to this parking lot that has this lookout. There's other people here doing
Volunteer groups, faith organizations, and local businesses rapidly organized to provide food, shelter, clothing, and emotional support to displaced residents. The Texas Department of State Health Services deployed mental health professionals to offer counseling and trauma support for survivors and first responders, recognizing the psychological toll of such disasters. Community members worked tirelessly alongside emergency personnel, coordinating debris removal, resource distribution, and logistical support. These collective acts of courage and compassion highlight the resilience and unity sustaining the region in the aftermath of catastrophe. On July 6th, Governor Greg Abbott declared disaster zones across multiple counties and designated a statewide day of mourning. The president issued a federal disaster declaration, activating FEMA and Department of Homeland Security resources and announcing a forthcoming visit to the affected region. NOAA committed to installing advanced river gauge networks and upgrading radar systems throughout the Hill Country to improve early warning and lead times for flash floods. Texas allocated $9.5 million in funding to enhance flood alert infrastructure and river monitoring, while federal agencies are reviewing emergency staffing, communication systems, and disaster response readiness to address vulnerabilities exposed by this event.
Again, tried to go Facebook Live, but there is no connection down here.
Anyway, that's the Guadalupe River. It's way high. My house is flooded.
Search and recovery efforts continue, with divers and sonar teams scanning debris-choked waterways. Structural engineers are meticulously assessing over 140 bridges and culverts to determine safety and repair priorities. Restoring power and clearing roads remain critical objectives. The rebuilding process is anticipated to last several months. Schools in the region have added grief counselors to support students and families coping with loss and trauma. Researchers at Texas Tech University are analyzing rainfall, terrain, and flood data to refine predictive models aimed at improving future forecasts and emergency preparedness. Camp Mystic's board has announced plans for structural improvements, redesigned evacuation routes, and enhanced floodplain engineering measures based on comprehensive assessments. Counseling services remain available for survivors, campers, staff, and emergency responders. Expressions of condolence have come from leaders worldwide, recognizing the tragedy's profound impact and the community's strength in adversity. A statewide hotline coordinates rebuilding assistance, and volunteers continue mobilizing across affected counties to aid in recovery efforts. This disaster, which has claimed nearly 100 lives, exposes critical gaps in early warning systems, forecasting capacity, and infrastructure resilience in a region vulnerable to flash flooding. Experts note that the frequency and intensity of such extreme rainfall events are consistent with climate change projections. Warmer atmospheric temperatures enable air to hold more moisture, resulting in shorter, more intense storm events. While no single flood can be directly attributed to climate change, this event aligns with scientific predictions for worsening weather extremes in vulnerable areas. Our deepest condolences go out to the people of Texas and to all those who have lost loved ones in this devastating disaster. May the souls of the departed rest in peace, and may the families and communities affected find strength, healing, and peace in the days ahead. In moments of tragedy like this, it is vital that we come together to support one another and contribute to recovery efforts in every way possible. If you found this report helpful and informative, please like it and share it with others. Share your experiences about this or similar events in the comments.
We're gonna show it was weather manipulation. I got some more evidence, but now we're gonna show it was some little black kids camping in the area too, but thank the Most High they was okay.
Tonight, a North Houston community is feeling relief after flash flooding near Camp Bandina left roads blocked and families worried. A bus finally pulled back into town, bringing home dozens of kids and a wave of emotion. Orko Manna was there for the heartfelt reunion.
To see this bus pull into the parking lot of Garden Oaks Church of Christ in North Houston is such a relief for these families. All these kids spending time this week at Camp Bandina, a Christian youth camp in Bandera, Texas. Flooding from the Guadalupe River and this tree blocking their way out of the camp, causing concern for loved ones.
I missed y'all. I'm so glad y'all made it back safely.
Erica White, grateful to see her 13-year-old daughter Madison Saturday and share an embrace. It's comforting to know all the kids are okay.
We were just praying, and last night was rough, but I was so happy when I could track her on Life 360 and see that they were heading back. So very grateful.
The panic paralyzing, knowing that less than 30 miles north of Camp Bandina in the Texas Hill Country is Camp Mystic. In the wake of the intense flooding Friday, Camp Mystic officials say more than 20 kids are still missing.
That camp isn't too far from where you guys were. So, I mean, how are you processing what happened out there?
We were initially shocked, and we were a little scared, to be honest, but we did pray about it, and fortunately we got through it.
It really shook a lot of the adults. We tried to keep the kids unaware of it.
Youth Minister Bryce Powers telling me his heart is with Camp Mystic right now.
We're blessed to have avoided the storm. We're blessed to be here. We do send our thoughts and prayers out to the families of the people who are lost and who they're still looking for.
Powers calling himself and his campers lucky that the water receded near them so they could come home.
Nature slowed it down just enough for us to get up out of there.
Reporting in North Houston, Orko Manna, KHOU 11 News.
For deadly floods.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance. Live from the Infowars.com studios, it's Alex Jones.
All right, just when you think the Democrat, globalist, deep state hoax machine can't get any worse, it is now the top story, not just in the U.S., but all over the world, that Trump cut funding from the National Weather Service. And so the 70-plus dead, and I predicted to be hundreds dead on Saturday, and the hundreds and hundreds missing, including many small children. Some people have been found living 20 miles away where they were swept away, in trees.
And they better find every last one of those children's bodies, because I don't want to hear that the children still missing, because then okay, y'all done kidnapped about 100 of those children, right?
Incredible rescue work by first responders, the state police, local police, the state guard. They are running the hoax everywhere that no flash flood warnings were issued. Total lie. Trump cut the funding from the Green New Deal section of global warming fear-mongering. That's all he cut. Rosie O'Donnell is blaming Trump for deadly floods. I live here. I was born here. I vacationed on the Guadalupe River probably 20 times. I almost this year took off 3-4 days and rented a cabin very close to the Mystic Christian camp where the girls were all swept away. my lawyer, family law lawyer, vacations every year out by that area, and I'm not able to get a hold of him. Rob Dew's son barely made it out of there. That's where a lot of people go. It's where Willie Nelson used to have his big picnic. When you hear the song about Lukenbach, Texas, that's out there by Kerrville and Fredericksburg and Hunt. And it's mountains and hills. It's scrub brush. When you see the photos of the rivers, it's got some trees because that's down at the rivers. But it's basically desert. So when you get these massive storms that come in, this has always happened. The difference is Texas has exploded. And you've got millions of people moving there every year, and they don't know this. There's warnings everywhere. Don't camp next to the water. Watch for flash flood alerts. And Thursday, I get alerts on my phone. And I got flash flood alerts. And I told my wife and the nanny, I said, we need to be really careful on July 4th. I don't think we should go anywhere because we're getting top warnings from the local meteorologists and the National Weather Service. I got the alerts on my phone, and you can pull it up. Just go to Google even, and just type in National Weather Service issued July 3rd flash flood alerts for Texas Hill Country. I showed it earlier at the start. Let's put it back on the screen, please. So there it is for everybody to see. The National Weather Center flood outlook issued on Thursday, that's before this happened, the day before, July 3rd morning, indicated, that's 24 hours before, an expansion of flash flood potential to include Kerrville, Texas, surrounding areas. A flood watch was issued by the National Weather Service on Thursday at 1:18 Pacific time. That'd be 3 p.m. here, 3:18. In effect through Friday. I was getting alerts on my phone the day before. It was all over the news. But I'll show you. You don't need me to show you. It's all over the place. Trump, it's over. My God, no warnings went out. Nobody knew. Oh, my God, he murdered everybody. He's declared an emergency, sending federal funds. But that shows you how sick these people are. You get 2 feet of rain between mountains and hills, and there's no dirt to absorb it. Those rivers go up 25 feet an hour. It is Sunday, July 6, 2025. I come to you from our studios in Austin, Texas, on the edge of the Texas Hill Country that I know so well, just 25 miles from where I sit. I have family that lives there. I've hunted there hundreds of times. I've vacationed there dozens of times. I got blown off the road 18, 19 years ago and almost killed by a tornado out there. Anybody that knows that area knows when those big storms hit those mountains and run smack dab into them and get stopped, the water all gets dumped out. And you got trees down by the rivers, but once you pull back from that, it's scrub brush and desert. And as you go more west, it just turns into desert. Anybody can look at a satellite image of Texas. It's green in East Texas, right through Central Texas. But when you hit west of Austin, it turns into a desert. And when you get huge storms coming in the summer and the spring, dumping all that water when they hit the Balcones Escarpment, those mountains and hills west of Austin, you get these disasters. Growing up, I was always told, you may see a stream, you're trying to drive across the road, looks like 6 inches. Don't do it, because seconds later, there could be 5 feet of water. And you know, you're a teenager, you don't listen until the first time it looks like a half foot of water, and you drive out there and also 2 feet of water hits you, your truck's sliding, you barely make it out. That's happened to me twice when I was a know-it-all 16, 17-year-old. Now I turn around and don't drive through it. So you have massive vacationers out in the Texas Hill Country. Again, you hear the famous song Lukenbach by Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson about let's go out to Lukenbach, Texas. That's right between Fredericksburg and Kerrville that got hit the strongest.
And so here's the big news. We've got 70 plus dead. We've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds missing. We've got debates about, was it weather weapons? Well, we know weather weapons exist. We know what's going on, but probably not in this case, because this happens when you have big storms that hit the Texas Hill Country. And this was a big one. So we pray for all the little boys and girls that are missing, but I don't think you're going to be finding a lot of them. As I said Saturday when I shot reports, I said, I believe you'll have hundreds of dead. And anytime in the summer or spring, I've been going out to camp out there, and I've done it many times. Family says, hey, make sure you don't camp too close to the water's edge, because in the middle of the night, big thunderstorm comes in and dumps a couple feet of water. It goes down those mountains and hills into those streams and rivers, and then those suckers rise 10, 20, 30 feet. I used to live in Dripping Springs right on Barton Creek at its headwaters, and our house was up on a hill about 60 feet above it on stilts. And I remember one time the water came all the way up to the stilts. I shot video of it, we can probably find it, and tore apart part of the house. But it didn't go high enough to knock it out. So you got a lot of campers, you got a lot of people. I mean, probably millions out there. I mean, Texas has exploded. It's a great place to go out 4th of July, but they went to bed having a few cold beers, and girls at little Christian camps and things, and they woke up at 2, 3 a.m. with the river rising 26 feet, the Guadalupe alone, the Llano River, you name it. But here's the big takeaway. Thousands of articles, top news everywhere. You don't need me to even show it to you. You can just turn on the news. It's there. Go to the Drudge Report, front page. Yeah, there's the Llano River. Boy, I've swam in that a lot. And hunted some deer on there. Yeah, go back to that Llano River time lapse. That's the Llano River, what it normally looks like versus the time lapse of the flood. Little bitty creek. And then boom, an hour later, that's what you're dealing with. And I've seen it with my own 2 eyeballs. So Morpheus says in the first Matrix back in 1999 to Neo, he says, you know, I can't tell you about the Matrix. You got to see it. And all I'm offering is the truth. You take the red pill, I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Take the blue pill, go back to Wonderland. So knowing about globalists and their lies academically is one thing, but on issues like this, where I know the Texas Hill Country, where I got family that lives, beautiful place, I love it. And then to see CNN, ABC, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, all of them saying Trump cut funding of the National Weather Service as they pre-programmed, knowing disasters always happen. You've heard that in the last 6, 8 months. Oh, God, he cut funding. It's going to cause mass death. Knowing death's always coming. Number 1 cause of death from weather is flash floods across the U.S. and the world, for that matter. Whether you're in Peru or whether you're in Iran, whether you're in Russia or whether you're in China, whether you're in Mexico, whether you're wherever you're at. Everybody knows that. But particularly in the Texas Hill Country. Because the hills, the mountains, and the narrow areas, it all floods that area because there's nowhere to go. So they're everywhere saying no flood alerts were issued. They got flashing signs. They got billboards. They got alerts on your phones. And we know that at 8-something a.m., July 3rd, 20-something hours before this started, the alert went out, and then an official alert all over the place later in the afternoon that this was a serious situation. And I've learned one thing. National Weather Service and state weather service alerts about flash floods in Texas, you better take serious, especially in Central Texas. Because again, you got a valley with mountains and hills on every side. and you get a big ass rain, you're going to have a lot of water down there. But imagine how evil these scumbags are. Trump, in less than 24 hours, issued a national emergency, sent in federal funds, federal aid, federal rescuers. They're down there aiding it. We saw Democrats literally in South Carolina and other areas blocking aid in their own videos. First, we had whistleblowers saying if it's white people or Trump supporters, we don't give them aid. We only give LGBT aid. Remember those videos last year? Hell, they weren't getting aid 2-3 weeks later. Trump had sent federal aid in less than 24 hours, and then they turn around and tell the completely demonstrably obvious lie that there was not even a weather alert issued. We got billboards, state billboards said it. My phone was saying it Thursday. It was all over the news. I talked to the crew. They said, yeah, we got alerts. We saw it all over the news. But see, the average person in California or New York or Illinois, they're going, well, that really sucks. Trump got rid of the National Weather Service employees, so this happened. That is next level deception. Trump killed the New Green Deal funding for the propaganda of the National Weather Service about fake global warming. Well, Obama has his, Martha's Vineyard house at one level above sea level. It's still just fine. That's what he killed. And he issued an order, as you know, 6 months ago when he first was getting in that all these federal agencies aren't going to put out your own propaganda. We'll have official statements by your department heads, agency secretaries. That's what he killed. He didn't kill the radar and the satellites and the meteorologists. That's horse crap. But to sit here and see these alerts everywhere Thursday and to tell my family, hey, we're going to have really bad floods. It's not as bad in Austin as we're a little bit flatter. But still, I mean, it gets bad. We can't even drive, foot of water on the road. I said, we stayed home 4th of July. We were looking to go to the Willie Nelson Bob Dylan concert. And I made the decision Thursday because I was given free tickets by a friend. I said, no, I gave the tickets to other people. And the floods were so bad in Austin, they didn't go. So Thursday I said, we're not going to Bob Dylan and Willie Nelson. I've seen Willie Nelson probably 20 times, never seen Bob Dylan. Wanted to see him. Probably the last show ever those guys do together. I killed going to the Bob Dylan, Willie Nelson concert Thursday over this. That's how dangerous this is. You may think you're a good driver. You're going on the highway. There's a foot of water. You got to pull over. So I'm beyond pissed at this point because I'm living it. I'm sitting right here in the middle of it in Central Texas. I know exactly what went on. The billboards, the state police, the TV, my phone, all over the TV channels. I don't go to the Willie Nelson, Bob Dylan concert because of it. And then you turn on the national news and Donald Trump cut the funding and nobody got a warning. That is the most demonstrable lie I've seen in a long time. And there are a lot of lies out of these people. So that says a lot. So at this point, I'm just tired of there not being any consequences to it. Because, they say I've got all these consequences for lies I never told, things I never did. But they lie about WMDs in all these countries, and they get all these people killed, and they run around saying that, we're going to brainwash your kid to cut their penis off. You know all the stuff they do. And then they turn around and just constantly lie. National Weather Service shares timeline of alerts ahead of catastrophic flooding. ABC. And if you read this article, overhead shot from ABC News, but it's buried. The National Weather Service Flood Hazard Outlook issued a Thursday, July 3rd morning incident of expansion of flood potential to include Kerrville, Texas, surrounding areas. And it goes on. Flash flood alerts. 1:18 p.m. This is the morning. On and on and on. The Weather Prediction Center issues a flash flood danger alert all the day before. They don't care. They don't care because we can have Rosie O'Donnell living over in Europe because she hates America so much. Just sit there, that fat ass crackhead or whatever she is. She doesn't live in America. She doesn't live in Central Texas. She doesn't live in the hill country. She doesn't have family out there. She doesn't know anything. She just sits up and says, President Trump killed all these people. And a lot of us are like, well, we already know they lie. See how they've got us used to it? See what they've done to us? They need to be exposed. And Trump needs to go out, I'm sure he will, and be advised by his people. Because this is how this works. He'll just read the news and hear they didn't issue an alert. I mean, you'd have to be hiding under a rock to not get this alert. And I get it. Everybody's out there 4th of July Eve, drinking beer. Woo, woo, woo. You're in Texas in the summer in the hill country. You need to not be up by the bank. And I'm not putting down the victims. I'm just saying most of these people, it's going to come out. I guarantee you haven't lived here very long. They didn't know how dangerous the Texas hill country is. How bad the tornadoes are. How bad the storms are. Hell, I didn't know. I said back when I was a teenager, I didn't know. And a few times tried to drive across something and almost got swept away, but made it through, thank God. I remember my kids were like, Rex was like 3. Charlotte was about 1. So this is about 20 years ago. We're out in Fredericksburg, north of Fredericksburg at my uncle's ranch. Beautiful Vista Hill. We're out there shooting. And my aunt and uncle are in there watching the TV. And they go, hey, we got storms about 50 miles away coming this way. You guys probably need to leave. My grandmother says, we're leaving. And she driven with my first wife and kids there. And I was in my own car because I bought a bunch of guns and stuff. And I was with my dad. And I said, I'll be fine. She goes, you need to leave now. Because she'd seen the radar and all the red spots coming in. She goes, high winds, tornadoes. And I said, we'll be fine. We waited about an hour, drank some more coffee, shot some more guns, get in the car. They made it from north of Fredericksburg into Johnson City. They got on into Austin, hour and a half out. We get in through Fredericksburg into Johnson City. I'm driving like 50. There's 8 inches of water, 10 inches of water, high winds. I'm driving like 40 in my Suburban car. Slide off a 60, 70-foot embankment down through, hit oak trees, almost kills me and my dad. We would have died if it didn't hit the back of the Tahoe, crushed the Tahoe all the way in to the back seats. State police are there in like 5 minutes. I go, how are you here? They go, we were parked over there underneath that underpass. Did you not see that barn blown up? We watched you sucked up by a tornado. They said the truck lifted up. I just knew we were going like Wizard of Oz. I was like, whoa, we're doing this. No, we got picked up by a tornado at least 10 feet off the ground. So I know about the Texas Hill Country. And that wasn't Donald Trump then, and that isn't Donald Trump now. So you better pay attention to it because you got the plains and the desert and all that moisture coming in out of the Pacific, and it runs into those mountains that protect Austin. That's why Austin doesn't have a lot of tornadoes and problems because it's all hitting those mountains. So I am beyond pissed off right now at Rosie O'Donnell and all the rest of it because it's just, they're never going to stop people. They don't care about the tens of thousands dead from illegal aliens and murderers and drunk drivers every year. They don't care about the 1,400,000 dead from fentanyl. No. They want to say that no national weather alert went out and that the national weather alerts are turned off when there were so many of them. I actually said we're not going to go to the Willie Nelson 4th of July picnic with Bob Dylan. I'm on record. And I rarely go to concerts, but I was going. And then it was so bad, the folks I gave the 4 tickets to, they didn't go either because the roads were horrible and wrecks everywhere. And that's not even in the hill country. That's outside of it. Oh, all right, I got a lot coming up. Tucker being demonized for interviewing the Ayatollah, that's going to drop any minute. And just how important that is. They want to try to control our speech. And Trump saying, hey, I'm open for amnesty for farm workers. He always said that, but I'll give you what I think about that coming up and so much more. But first, here's Rosie O'Donnell.
And what a horror story in Texas. The flash floods in Texas, the Guadalupe River, 51 missing, 51 dead, more missing. Children at a camp. And you know, when the president guts all of the early warning systems and the weathering forecast abilities of the government, these are the results that we're going to start to see on a daily basis, because he's put this country in so much danger by his horrible, horrible decisions and this ridiculously immoral bill that he just signed into law. As Republicans cheered, people will die as a result, and they've started already. Shame on him. Shame on every GOP sycophant who's listening and following the disastrous decisions of this mentally incapacitated POTUS. Hard to believe.
So they started, before he was even president-elect, they said if Trump gets in, they said he'd do it, he's going to cut the NOAA National Weather Service funding. Yeah, the propaganda side. And then it's going to cause all these floods and death. There's always floods and death. And so they were already preloaded, pre-ready. No, you lying witch. They issued the alerts out the butt. And now I'll assure you, people will listen next time. Okay? And I'm not blaming the people that died or any of this. I'm just saying, you don't know the hill country, now you do. And it's a tragedy. And there's a whole nother discussion about, is this a weather weapon? This has been happening my whole life. Now they've had, and I saw some articles about this, cases where the Air Force and others apologized during Texas floods. Back when I was first on air, like 25, 30 years ago, they said, yeah, it may have contributed. Yeah, there is weather modification going on, so you can't rule that out, but this goes on. So I showed you all the documentation. I showed you the reality of it. And you know they're liars. Live updates. Desperate search for missing in Texas floods as death toll raises to 70. It's past that now. Trump mourns unimaginable tragedy as deaths rise to 69. It's above that now in Texas floods.
110.
11 girls still missing at Camp Mystic. Woman 22 swept 20 miles by killer Texas floods and left clinging to tree before rescue after storm, and 27 dead. Yeah, notice the rescue folks were there. Their funding wasn't cut. It's been increased. Dad dies after having arm almost cut off while saving kids, wife and kids. They float on a mattress in the Texas floods. MTG calls for ban on deadly weather modification. 30 states have passed laws against it now. They're demonizing another. Woman running for Congress in Georgia for saying, hey, this could be weather modification. Hell yeah, it should be looked at. President Trump has signed a major disaster declaration for Kerr County. It's one of the counties hit in Texas to provide immediate resources for first responders in the wake of the deadly flash floods. Over 870 lives have been saved, but many remain missing. Pray more of the missing aren't found alive. Texas officials slam Trump's National Weather Service for bad forecast. Oh, they just forecast dangerous flash floods. That's MSM. In Texas, region prone to catastrophic floods, questions grow about lack of warning. Texas Tribune, more commies. As flood hits, key roles were vacant at Weather Service. So that's technically true, yeah, like brainwashing about global warming, saying every tornado or flood is man-made. We need to pay carbon taxes to Al Gore and the UN. So that's not even technically a lie from the New York Times. Yeah, they did get rid of key people, key roles of brainwashing. But all the weather alerts went out, all the radar worked, all the billboards flashed. That's how you lie by omission. More fancy, more professional liars in the New York Times than Rosie O'Donnell. Federal forecast concerns service in Texas, deadly flooding debate. KXAN in Austin. Meanwhile, the government admits their weather controlling. Wow. I mean, that is scumbaggery next level. There was no weather alert. Rosie O'Donnell and the New York Times and CNN said so. Man, that Trump, God, he's a killer.
Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jacob with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. So the death toll from the Texas flooding, which is looking more and more very much looking like weather manipulation. Now, I don't believe that they manipulated it to the point where they wanted to kill people like this, but there was definitely some weather manipulation that's going on. Don't mess with Mother Nature, right? So these guys are like really, pushing the envelope, and we're seeing what happens when you do this. And this has been ongoing for a long time in Texas, playing with the weather. And we're seeing the catastrophic effects of playing with the weather on a larger scale. They're trying to, I guess, reduce the drought in some areas in Texas, and it was catastrophic results. So as we've seen, unfortunately, though, as we've seen with these events, they're trying to place the blame somewhere else. And they're starting to say, why didn't you, to local authorities, why didn't you, from evidence there was going to be this flooding, why didn't you go out and, warn people? And they're like, this was not, something that was reported in the weather. So we have to watch this stuff, because this is the way these guys do this. So we know that there's manipulation that goes on behind the scenes. Now, whether they decided that it was going to be on a catastrophic result level, and whether there were some actors, like I've been an actor in a lot of these plays where they come in and, the military, CIA, and so forth, and we present a certain ideal, and behind the scenes, we have the deep state playing their games. The psychopaths love to do dirty deeds, right? So very, very possible that the psychopaths got involved in this and made this into an extreme event. And they like extreme events because it takes focus off of other things that they're doing that are evil, right? So they're constantly trying to ramp out all kinds of different catastrophic, events. So this is crazy the way these guys operate. It's just nonstop, doing crazy events like this throughout history, right? So we have to be aware of this, because if we're aware of this and bring our attention to it, we can start to prevent it and even shut it down. So let's look at some of the things that are going on right now. Death toll and devastating Central Texas flash floods climbs to 81, with more than 40 remain missing. So it looks like we're going to see 100 plus deaths from this event. So the devastating flash floods slammed Texas Hill Country, with water rescues taking place along the Guadalupe River. The Guadalupe River is one of the 5 top places for flooding. It was nearly dry, if not dry, I guess, at the time this rainfall. Hence, they were cloud seeding, which, like I said, has been going on for decades in Texas. It's not something new. We've talked about it for decades, and they constantly say that we're conspiracy theorists. Now it's coming out in the open. And I think some people need to be held accountable, right? So they're going to like push the narrative and try and blame others, saying that like I said, there were reports that were coming out that this flooding was coming, and the local authorities were like, absolutely not. And, you know, they're on record now saying it, that there was not any indication that flooding of this caliber was coming, right? So they do this all the time. You look all the way back to 9/11, where information was coming out, and they slowly, methodically buried that information and took it offline, right? And then other people that came out and started to share information, you know, were suicided, right? Fatal accidents, so forth. So we'll see how far this goes if we start to see fatal accidents and suicides involved with this, because this is going to be this is, as right now, a big reveal. But a lot of people are going to get trapped up in the mainstream media, which is manipulated by the deep state. They're going to try and turn this on other people. So remember, this is their method, and we have to learn their method to defeat them. Right? So Greg Abbott's was not around when this happened. This is very similar to Lahaina, where the governor left, or the mayor left Lahaina and went to a big meeting on flooding and disasters, not flooding, but disasters and fires, I guess, in Oahu or something. So it is a pattern we're starting to see from these jokesters, right? So I call it out when I see it.
Just not saying that.
You guys just do a little research, you're going to find the same thing.
I'm gonna do a video on it. They took that.
All right, so I'm gonna share the screen. We're going to look at there's more weather coming. Now there's also, I don't know if I have it in my lineup, but I was watching it earlier. So I do a lot of research before these shows, and my intention to share things sometimes does not coincide with the information that I line up to share. But I'll tell you this: if it's not lined up, there were weather patterns that show there was a massive burst all from the Gulf of weather. So it does seem on a certain level that they manipulated this to be a catastrophic event, right? And it's not stopping. It's not stopping. There's more weather coming in. So you already have saturated ground. You bring more rain in, you're going to have more flooding, right? And this could be to cause more confusion, make it harder to rescue those people that still could be rescued. So the death count goes up even higher. This is the way these guys operate. I've been reporting on this for decades. This is not something new, but we have to start to look at the pattern of these psychopaths, right? And start to put attention on them. They're way behind the scenes. They're way above Greg Abbott, right? They're way above presidents. They're way above billionaires. These are very, very, hidden people or entities that do this manipulation, guys. So I'm going to share the screen. We're going to look at Weatherman Plus. He's one of my go-to people. He's very spiritual. He calls this out just like I'm calling out. Of course, his information is based in science, so he's not going to go too far down that rabbit hole like I do, but yet he does touch on it. So let's listen to what he's saying.
Through that storm, that front is going to bring a lot of storms along the south, the southeast, and the mid-Atlantic, and this is going to potentially add up to a lot of heavy rainfall, if not something very close to home spinning up. You need to watch this very closely. Showing as we go into Tuesdays, when you're going to get all that heavy rainfall added up, and as you go through Wednesday and beyond, it's going to start tapering off through eastern Texas, Louisiana, get pulled a little more for the upper level low, but that is going to bring more rainfall once again towards central Texas. As of right now, you still have the slight risk and the marginal for flash flooding for today. And this includes Killeen. So please be aware of this. Also for tomorrow, it's going to turn into that marginal, which I think could go right back into a slight risk if more rainfall does show that it's coming down. So please be aware of this. Showing that one of our saving graces is going to be this dust that's moving in from the Gulf as you come in from Wednesday and Thursday and push all that precipitation to the north, which would keep it dry from any further rainfall coming towards the south central. Showing that as we go through for that storm for Thursday and Friday, it is going to add up to more rainfall, but then it's really going to come across for the north, also for the southern side. And then when that front comes down and brings these storms, it's going to add up even more, all the way from the south central, all the way towards the southeast and the mid-Atlantic.
So look at that red and white. You know, we're looking at 8 to 10 inches or more. So that's from central Texas all the way down through the Gulf states and over into the west coast of Florida. Of course, all of Florida is going to get several more inches. It's already starting. I'm pretty sure at this point the drought in Florida is done, and now we're going to start the saturation process before we get big hurricanes that are going to hit Florida.
Rainfall. And speaking of heavy rainfall, look at all these world events that happened just in the last 3 days.
Yeah, look at all these world events. This is insane. Look at all the flooding all over the world. Spain, Italy, Vietnam, China, big time in China. I'm going to show a video on that. So Sicily, Mexico, another area in China, Indonesia, and of course, in Texas.
This is ridiculous. Links are in the description for everything I'm about to show you. So for floods, you can see right here for Kerrville going all the way towards San Antonio, Georgetown, Leander, Texas. You can see what's happening for Texas. You can also see Russia, Indonesia, China, Vietnam, Spain, Italy, all this flooding that has happened just within the last 3 days. Also hail in Italy. As I scroll it down, snow in China, snow in South Africa, snow in Turkey, a tornado in South Dakota, plus a volcano was happening over in Nicaragua and Japan, all the fires and an earthquake in Iceland.
Now, a lot of this is from sun activity, guys. So we have a lot of energy, electrical energy coming off the sun, and coronal mass ejections, all kinds of stuff are coming off the sun right now and really up in the energy of the earth. So for anyone that understands the energy of the earth, of course, they try and dumb us down on this, but anyone that with simple knowledge of this, of course, they have advanced knowledge and they hide that from us. They dumb us down in all of our school systems so that we don't understand this information. They use that knowing the energies are going up. They're using those energies to take these storms, volcanoes, earthquakes, and so forth to another level, All right. So they have lots of tools to do that. They have HARP machines, directed energy weapons, and of course, cloud seeding. So lots of different, and probably some out there that I'm not even aware of, quite frankly. So military not in control. Military is in control of what it is in control of. The deep state is in control of what they are in control of. So we're in a war. So when two opposing forces, face off against each other, each side has its capabilities. So when you falsely believe that the military is completely in control, then you don't understand that the military industrial complex, how long have you heard that? Since Eisenhower. So that means, because he was in the military, he was the top general of the United States during World War II, and then became president. So he's trying to tell us there is something else going on out there that I'm not even in control of. So come on, guys. So when someone says military, that's disinformation, or someone is uninformed. All right. So yes, we are at war. So come on, get with the program.
Not to mention what's going on in Texas, because anyone that is a parent is just heartbroken over what's going on, especially for all these girls that's going over there. They wait all year for this summer camp. This has never been seen. This is not normal. I see meteorologists out there saying this is totally normal. It's not normal. They're the same ones that says when you see all that spraying going on in the sky, that it's actually the airplane leaving certain altitudes. You need to watch out for them because it's not true. This is not normal. People have not seen this. They live there over 30 years. Now, Camp Mystic, that has been hit really hard. Still have a lot of girls missing from over there. I believe it's 27 still missing. This is a Christian camp. Once again, links in the description. You go.
All right. So we know the deep state, the military industrial complex is a good portion of the CIA, FBI, so forth. They are not Christian, right? They're Luciferian. So any chance they get to come after a Christian entity like this Christian girls camp, they're going to do it, guys. And this could be one of the things they always have multiple reasons they do the things they do. It's not like we're just going to flood this area and we're going to kill some people. There could be one person they wanted to kill. And then they're like, well, we can kill a bunch that will hide that. Oh yeah. And there's Christian girls camp. Let's kill a bunch of them too. Really throw a bunch of, really, screw things up for people and make people fearful and despondent and sorrowful and all the things, agony, all the things, lower consciousness levels that they like to impose and then loose on us for that.
See it. This is where the girls go to have a great time. They all hang out. They get peaceful. They get spiritual food, everything. This is a Christian camp for girls. And now it is trashed. The same buildings where all these girls is missing, presumably down the river, or God knows other bad information of what happened with that. But the same camp of girls is the same groups that are missing everybody. So please pray for these families. If you have a child, you know exactly what these parents are going through. This is horrible. I would not want to live without my daughter. And not only that, people have a lot of flooding issues with the homes in general over there. People that has hospice, they need help, and people just crying out for help. Look outside this woman's front door. Look at her view outside her front door. That is a river out there, everyone, an ocean pretty much. Look at this. That is tragic. And this is not normal. Do not believe people are telling you this is normal. This rose 34 feet, less than 2 hours, everybody.
So good job for Weatherman Plus, hammering it from his end. And Todd put in trafficking. That's a good point, Todd, because we see these little girls are missing. They could have been, again, multiple reasons why they do these events. So they benefit from that. So they, from trafficking, probably, capture some of these poor girls and they're going to turn them into sex slaves or something worse and sacrifice or adrenochrome, whatever they're going to do with them. That's going to earn them a lot of money. That'll pay for all the cloud seeding they did and all the weather manipulation they did, right? So always multiple reasons why they do these things. So good job, you guys. Think outside the box. Start to tie all this stuff together so we can defeat these assholes, right? This is getting old, right? So the weather is going to get crazier. It's not going to give up. It's going to continue to change and get more and more severe all over the world. And this is part of the manipulation of the deep state, right? So look at China. China is, about as deep state as they come. And they've manipulated a lot of the Democrat and some Republicans through the voting process and so forth. So now we're going to see China destroy a lot of its people.
Decoding China, where you'll find all the essential information you need. The Three Gorges Dam nightmare arrives. Dams can't hold up, quietly releasing water, half of China submerged in floods. Towns wiped out, human and animal corpses floating everywhere. In the past few days, multiple regions in China have been hit by extreme heavy rainfall combined with reservoir water releases, leading to widespread flooding, with disasters breaking out intensively across the southwest, central, and southern parts of the country. These sudden floods have not only destroyed the hard-earned property of countless families, but have also plunged the lives of many ordinary people into despair. Some areas have experienced severe disasters, with urban flooding, submerged villages, disrupted roads, and frequent reports of casualties. The sight of human and animal corpses floating everywhere has made the disaster even more severe. On the evening of July 4th, a mudslide struck Damba County in Sichuan's Gansu Prefecture, with torrents of mud and debris crashing down, instantly destroying entire houses and snapping a bridge in half. Eyewitnesses screamed as they fled, and shocking videos of the event spread rapidly online. In Guangxi's Bay City, a 5-story residential building by the river collapsed entirely into the water. In Gansu's Longnan City, days of heavy rainfall triggered landslides, resulting in the deaths of 2 workers at a construction site. In Sichuan's Chengdu, river level.
All right, so you can see the devastation. This is just one part of China. I've been reporting and showing a lot of this devastation in China. We keep hearing the Three Gorges Dam. They built like, I think 100 dams right now are under threat. Three Gorges Dam, you know, it's well above flood stage. Will it collapse? Probably not. But China needs that power to power AI, artificial intelligence. They are moving as fast as they can to become the dominant AI controller of the world. That's why President Trump is pushing so hard for America to be the dominant AI. So a lot of people don't understand this. They get very fearful, and they think President Trump and his team is trying to do evil things with AI. They just they hear AI and they're like instantly, you know, a cloud comes in front of their eyes or something. I don't know. AI is going to be incredible for the future when, just like the computer, just like the internet, which, as we know, gets manipulated, people get taken advantage of in the internet. If AI from a negative source like China becomes a dominant source, what do you think they're going to do? Imagine China, the people of China, controlled and suppressed, and you know, like you just saw with that flooding, constantly hammered by their government. Imagine that happening all over the world. And if AI from a negative source like China gets control of AI, we're doomed. We're doomed. So they need the power. So is there some kind of war that's going on to take away the power control system that China needs for the AI? We could be seeing that. Now, we know that President Trump is trying to up our power generation. And you're going to see that going forward, because there needs to be a lot of power to power the AI, right? So incredible things are happening, but of course there's incredible manipulation also. So I put in a search, how many states are using cloud seeding? 9 US states are using cloud seeding. California, Colorado, Idaho, Nevada, New Mexico, North Dakota, Texas, of course, 7 different companies that we know of, Utah, and Wyoming. So these programs are primarily funded at the state level or below, with local agencies and utilities often playing a significant role in funding, especially in states like California and Texas. Utah in particular provides substantial state support for cloud seeding. So I remember there was an article here many years ago here in Lake Tahoe where they were doing cloud seeding for more snow. So this is not anything new. All right. It goes back in time for many, many years, cloud seeding. You can look it up and see it's going back into the 60s. So not something new. All right. So other things we need to look at is how fast this rose. This is not something new either. I've stressed this last year, that we needed to work together to calm a lot of those hurricanes that came in. And I think we did a phenomenal job. They got the best of us with Hurricane Helene, though. They worked around us pretty good on that one. But pretty much all the other hurricanes were downgraded. They could have been a lot bigger. I said that they would be bigger, and I said the only way they're not going to be big, and I said exactly where we're going to hit. Almost every single place that I said, I say probably, I don't know how many hit, but the one that I missed was Miami. I said one would come in just below Miami and go all the way up Florida, and that one didn't happen, right? But all the other ones happened, and a lot of people thought that the one that hit Texas was going to hit Mexico. They tried to fool us they try and fool us for a long time, guys, so that we take our focus off. Now, I was saying all along for like weeks before that a hurricane was going to hit the Houston area. And then that one hurricane came in. It was a Cat 5 that went by Jamaica. It slammed into Mexico at the Cabo San Lucas. No, not Cabo San Lucas. Anyway, so it hit the eastern side of Mexico. Excuse me, and it started up. And everybody said, and all the weathermen said it was going to go west and slam into Mexico, right? And it didn't. It came out into the Gulf where there was warm water, but it never intensified. That was quite a miracle. Yes, spiritual journey, Acapulco. All right, so Acapulco is where I want to take your attention to, and I talked about it a lot last year. So the rapid intensification within 12 hours. So people went to sleep in Acapulco. They like to do it at night when everybody's asleep. So everybody went to sleep. There was a tropical storm off, Acapulco, and he said maybe it'll strengthen to a Cat 1 by the time you wake up. It was a Cat 5 by the time everybody woke up, and they had record-setting wind gusts to 208 miles per hour, a max wind gust that they recorded, right? So I talked a lot about this, and I said, this is the way the deep state is going to do this in the future. That's what they just did in Texas, guys. Rapid intensification, right? While everybody's sleeping. All right, so let's share this on Hurricane Otis.
On the evening of October 23rd, 2023, residents of Acapulco, Mexico went to bed hearing that Tropical Storm Otis was 175 miles to the south in the eastern Pacific and was expected to remain a tropical storm. But by the morning of the 24th, Otis had become a hurricane. It was intensifying rapidly and at a far greater rate than the intensity models were predicting. In fact, the models didn't catch up to what Otis was doing until late in the day. Dire warnings were issued for Acapulco just hours before landfall for an unprecedented hurricane. Less than 24 hours since it had been a tropical storm, Otis had become a 165 mile per hour Category 5 hurricane. It made landfall in Acapulco as a Category 5 just before 1 a.m. local time on the 25th. It was a terrifying night, with windows and walls being blown out of high-rise hotels, exposing entire floors. 80% of Acapulco's hotels were damaged, along with 98% of the city's homes. Dozens were killed and tens of thousands were displaced. More than 4,000 businesses were wiped out.
And Acapulco was scheduled to be a 15-minute city.
Hundreds of boats washed ashore. In an area where landfalls are rare, Otis became the costliest hurricane in Mexico history. A large part of what made the rapid intensification of Otis difficult for the models to predict is a relative lack of observational data in the eastern Pacific. Intensity for.
All right, so he's going to blow smoke and say the reason why, bullshit. The reason why is because the deep state came in and ramped this thing up. So the evidence is there. I'm just going to slide through and show you some more of the pictures because I can't stand to hear bullshit.
Otis is rapid intent, and it occurs passed over exceptionally warm ocean waters. For the last several decades, an increase in rapid intensification has been observed among global tropical cyclones. Warmer oceans appear to be an important driver, and a study published just this spring revealed an increase in rapid intensification near coastlines due in part to higher humidities and reduced wind shear.
Blah, blah, effing blah. All right. So, you know, they show us the information and then they seed in the disinformation. So you have to be aware when they're doing that. You can't just watch this stuff and go, oh, this is fact. That's bullshit. You have to do your research, right? Yeah, blah, 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 right? But you know what I'm talking about. Not a fan. Not a fan of a lot of these news organizations, guys. And I hope you guys aren't at this point as well. All right, so I looked it up on Wikipedia. It said nothing of the 205 mile per hour wind gust. Nothing. It said there were 165 mile per hour sustained winds. So this is how they bury stuff. They get, you know, sites like Wikipedia to put in complete bullshit and, you know, talk about global warming, warm water. Yeah, warm water makes hurricanes as like forever. So, and then they make it sound like there's never been warm water to do hurricanes. Hurricanes have been hammering, you know, for thousands of years. So anyway, so Cat 5, morning hours, October 25th, right? Late in the hurricane season as well. So they talk about the 52 deaths were directly attributed to Otis and another 32 missing. So they play with the death numbers as well. Instead of giving us all the numbers, they will play around like that. Because I know I have friends that were in Florida, my area, and they were driving around in their boats. It was hard for them to get their boat in the water because the police kept stopping everyone trying to put their boats in the water so that they could see what was going on. And my friend said they saw lots of body bags. And there wasn't that many deaths in Florida, you know, compared to the level of flooding. Again, another one of those where, you know, the hurricane's well off the coast. It's not that big of a hurricane, yet the flooding was off the charts, all up and down the west coast of Florida, right? And then, of course, it went inland, and there was even more devastation. More people died. More people died in a lot of the states other than Florida than died in Florida. A lot more, especially in North Carolina, where they had like that 1,000-year flooding in the mountains up there. So we're still being hammered by the deep state, guys. This is not ending. So here it is right here. An over 200 mile per hour wind gust of 205 mile per hour was measured by instruments along the northeast side of Acapulco. Now, what another bullshit thing that they don't talk about is the fact that there was not a lot of rain and water associated with this hurricane. It was mostly a wind hurricane. Wow. So, yeah, we aren't losing, but it's not over. Absolutely, Penny. So we have to stay focused and we have to continue. Texas officials face scrutiny excuse me, over response to catastrophic deadly flooding. To July holiday for flowers house on the Guadalupe River. Nothing in the forecast alarmed him. Hours later, he was rushing to safety. He woke up in darkness to electrical sockets popping and ankle-deep water. Quickly, his family scrambled 9 people into the attic. Phones buzzed with alerts. Flowers were called Saturday. but he did not remember when in the chaos, it didn't happen before the chaos, but in the chaos. So I've seen reports where they were like reporting that this flooding was coming before it came. That's bullshit. So again, they're going to try and do this to cover their evil deeds, guys. Done dirt cheap. All right. AC/DC. Highway to hell, right? So let's look at this is I'm going to share Tracy Derwin, brush junkie. She has another guy she works with. They do reports on everything. I think they started with Lahaina. That's when I first started following them. All the anomalies with the directed energy weapons, they pointed it all out. And they pointed out the LA. They pointed out a lot of the fires that have happened all over the USA and the flooding. So they do an excellent job. Highly recommend you follow Brush Junkie. All right. Doing a great job informing people. All right. So, there's a lot of us out here trying to inform people, but sometimes it feels like it's not getting much traction. Sometimes it does. But the fact that this is still going on obviously reveals that it's not enough traction because they're still doing it.
Way more severe than usual. And here, Greg Abbott was not in town. He is now, and he has made many statements. Here's a post saying rain enhancement.
Rain enhancement. All right. So this is Evergreen. Evergreen. Where have we heard about them? So when I was in the SEAL Team 6, we used to jump at a secret location. It's not secret anymore, but at the time it was. And it was right next to an Evergreen airport. And all the guys who are in the know were like, that's CIA. So I wonder if we're still seeing the CIA involved here. So you see right there, rain enhancement, purpose of project or activity, South Texas, Evergreen UGWCD. Now I looked up Evergreen UWCD, and it says when atmospheric conditions are favorable for precipitation enhancement, a pilot is dispatched to begin seeding operations. The airplane releases hygroscopic flares containing calcium chloride crystals. Since calcium chloride is a salt, it attracts water vapor until the particles are heavy enough to fall as rain. So Evergreen, you look up that rain enhancement Evergreen UGWCD that was in that report, you're going to see they have been involved for a very, very long time. I see there's one 1995, the Texas legislature enacted a $5 million cost sharing program for conducting activities to increase rainfall through seeding clouds. 1995. This has been going on for a long time. How many other flooding events that caused death and destruction can we go back and look at that were anomalies and say this was probably cloud seeding that caused this problem? I bet we could probably go back and see a lot, right? But could we, find evidence? Because when you cloud seed discreetly, like they've been doing for years, while on the ground we're saying chemtrails, all right? And everybody's like, you're crazy. Now it's out in the open. It's out in the open now. So where do we go from here now that it's out in the open?
The forecast that we received on Wednesday from the National Weather Service predicted 3 to 6 inches of rain in the Concho Valley and 4 to 8 inches of rain in the Hill Country. We worked with our own meteorologists to fine tune that weather statement. And as many of you know, and many of you in broadcast journalism and meteorology, You can go back and look at your own forecast, and the amount of rain that fell in this specific location was never in any of those forecasts.
This rain event sat on top of that and dumped more rain than what was forecasted on both of those forks. When we got the report, it was about 7 feet or so on the South Fork, and within a matter of minutes, it was up to 29 feet, and all of that converged at the Guadalupe, and that's where we saw those very quick rise in flood.
But listen, everybody got the forecast from the National Weather Service, right? You all got it. You're all in media. You got that forecast. It did not predict the amount of rain that we saw.
All right, so I wanted as many people to hear that the officials didn't know that much rain was going to fall.
Shockwave that covers every single Gulf state. Whatever this is, some sort of front, some sort of weird weather manipulation type thing going on. You can see the entire shockwave of this thing rolling up from the center of the Gulf, straight up to all states that touch that water.
Okay, and then when you look at that, you see those blue rings kind of, going, getting bigger and kind of going back. According to Dane Whittington, those are towers that deflect the storm. So that is his explanation for how they steer these storms.
All right. So obviously there's multiple groups that are involved in this. So towers, 5G towers or whatever, have special equipment on them. Or the 5G itself could be used as directing, as we know, sending energies out, just zooming them out there. We get hit with these every night, all of us, right? They hammer us at night, usually around 3 o'clock. So if you're waking up at 3 o'clock, you're getting pounded by 5G because they ramp it up during the middle of the night. Why? Who's up talking in the middle of the night, right? It's to cause problems. We know that. So this is an ongoing thing. How many groups are involved? What groups are involved? We need to find that out. You can see the good guys there are saying, if we had gotten the word, we would have moved people. I mean, obviously. Why would they say, oh yeah, it's gonna rise 40 feet? Oh well, let's just go to sleep and see what happens. No, that's bullshit. So the media is trying to, and don't be surprised if they have someone that will start to say, yeah, we made a mistake. We knew it was coming. One of their little trolls, one of their little, puppets that they'll have come in, and they'll have the mainstream media come in. Like, there was plenty of information that was being put out that these storms were going to be massive. Why didn't you move people? Well, we made a mistake. Some jackass will come out and say that, and then they'll leap on that, and they'll share it, and then they'll spread it, and then everybody's going to be hammering those innocent people like they always do. It's frustrating. All right. So that's how they work. That's how they manipulate things, guys. So let's go into some other manipulation. Let's go into the economic manipulation. 3 months ago, we saw a massive drop, 20% drop in the stock market. And now stocks are up 20%. Right? So everybody's like, wow. Remember when Trump said it's a good time to get in the stock market? Well, that was because it's up 20% since then. So he's in on their game, guys. And he's trying to help us out. So at some point, probably when this thing is ready to completely and totally collapse, he'll probably give us a heads up on that. I'm hoping anyway. But and maybe he won't be able to. Who knows? So that more of them can be trapped. I don't know. But you have extreme fear like we had 3 months ago, stock market dropping. Probably most of you are like, what? So 3 months, that's a long time ago. But I followed these, for most of my life, stock markets and silver prices, most of my life, right? So I've seen the manipulation. It's very frustrating. But if you know they're going to manipulate, you can, create wealth while they're manipulating, and other people are getting hammered and slammed, right? Most people get slammed. Most people. but that doesn't have to happen to all of us. All right, so right now I believe we're moving into the next week, this upcoming week. We may start to see a pullback. We're starting to see futures are down. That doesn't mean anything. We could see a last little uptick possibly this week. And who knows, maybe it keeps going up, guys. I don't know. But we're at extreme greed. So we went from extreme fear to now extreme fear or greed. So that means a lot of people think this thing's going to go a lot higher, and that's usually when it doesn't, right? So we just popped an all-time high again for all the major indices. So we're probably going to see, I believe, another pullback. I don't think it's going to be a deep one. I think it's going to be shallow, and then it's going to turn around and head higher. It's going to fool some people. People are going to, they'll probably talk it up like, oh, get out. And then all the dumb money will, because the dumb money's probably getting in right now. And then when it goes down, they're gonna dump their money. They're going to lose, right? This is the way this works. It's manipulation. They're masters at it. It's very, very, even though I followed this for, most of my life, I would say at least 50 years more, I still get bamboozled by these guys, right? They're very clever, and you have to be, I've made a lot of money. I've lost a lot of money. But the one thing that I've always done well in is precious metals. So I called the last precious metal high and top, and I've been calling that this is going to be precious metals boom like we have never seen before in history. This is a once in a multi-generation buying opportunity in precious metals, guys. All right, so if you look at futures, now silver looks like it's down now because I was going to come in and talk it up. But it just went up and hit a new multi-year high because silver, before the market opens, does future trading, as we're seeing with the other indices. And it was up to the high before was like 37.40 or something like that. So it's already, hit a new all-time high. So right there. So 7/6/2025 at 6:31 p.m. Eastern time is when it hit a new multi-year high. So I think we can and probably will see this thing go to 38.39 pretty quick. And that's gonna be built upon maybe a little pullback, and then we'll punch through 40, a little bit of a pullback, and then we're gonna move to 50. A little bit of a pullback, and then we're gonna go beyond 50 and $60, $70. And the thing that is different from all the other big highs that we've seen in precious metals, silver, gold, you name it, platinum, is that they'll do a massive pump and then a massive takedown. We are not seeing that now with silver and gold, right?
We're going to be looking at some disturbing videos, strange and odd news stories, and as always, let's go ahead and get right into today's video. This video will be about a bunch of strange quote-unquote coincidences. There are things happening in Philadelphia, things happening in India that I have spoken about previously in another video that happened on July 4th. But before we go ahead and get into that, I do want to go ahead and talk about this.
And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of the set?
Yeah, sure. If I
Pam, could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on that at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration. But you go ahead.
Sure.
Didn't most of us anyway just find out about this yesterday? Now look, there are other horrifying things currently taking place, like, yes, what's happening in Texas, what's happening in North Carolina, what may happen in eastern Pennsylvania, but this administration ran on the fact that they were going to expose these files. We just had phase 1. I was expecting that we were going to get phase 2, phase 3, things like that. But I knew, and many others knew, that nothing was going to come of this. There would be no mass arrest, all these high-profile people getting in trouble and being exposed with their connections to this entire case, to trafficking and so forth. They want us to believe that Ghislaine was guilty of trafficking. That was one of the charges she was guilty of, but the only people she trafficked to was to her and Jeffrey, nobody else. That is what they want us to believe. Now, this whole thing was one big distraction. What Jeffrey did was very real. He did have a lot of people he blackmailed, but the fact of them investigating, telling us that people would go down, phase 1, phase 2 of the files, getting us very hyped up that they were going to go ahead and release this information, that was the distraction. And as coincidence may have it, the Diddy case, another distraction, concluded in the exact same week that this whole Jeffrey stuff concluded. And there was another case that really hooked the United States, was the Idaho 4 case and Brian Kohberger. And out of nowhere, on the exact same day that the Diddy trial had concluded, Brian Kohberger admitted to being guilty. So that case also concluded. But going back to the Jeffrey case, I mean, if you're going to go ahead and distract the public with this case for quite some time, I mean, I see no problems with talking about it a little bit more. People have answers. There was a minute missing from the tape, and Pam Bondi, she gives her best explanation as to why a minute was missing.
We're going to see the light of day. To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every year, every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's it.
No, that's not it. We were being distracted with this case for 6 years, and now that we're at the end and nothing absolutely makes no sense whatsoever, we have less information now than we do at the beginning. People rightfully have questions. Since we were being distracted with this for 6 years, what's another day or two of questions of things that don't make any sense whatsoever? So again, let people ask their questions, let them multitask, and the answer makes no sense whatsoever. So every night they go back to this one specific videotape and they delete that 1 minute. If I were to ask just one question about this whole thing, my question would be, why did they come out and tell us originally that the cameras were not working? There was no surviving video footage. The only video footage they had back at that time was the video footage of the shoe area, the general area. But when it came to his cell, the video footage that spotlighted on his cell, there was no surviving footage because there was technical errors. Now, all of a sudden, video footage has come out, CCTV video footage of his cell area. My next question would be, since we all know that this is a distraction, the Diddy case and this case finalizing at the exact same time, what indeed was out there that they were distracting us away from? So I do not know why Trump is getting mad and upset at this reporter, because this thing just concluded, and on the exact same day in 24 hours, naturally people will have questions about things that just do not make any sense. But it is what it is. That is that. Do not ask any more questions about it. Wild and crazy does not even begin to describe the psyops that the public is being put through. So make no mistake about it, there is currently a lot taking place across the world. There is a lot taking place in just the United States alone. Between the floods in Texas and the floods in North Carolina, the United States has received not just one, but two 1 in 1,000 year rain events in the span of 2 days. As of right now, or at the time of this recording anyway, it's been confirmed that in North Carolina, 2 people have passed away due to the flood. And over in Texas, the death toll has already surpassed 100. So again, a very horrific situation, 2 1 in 1,000 rain events in the span of 2 days in the same country. But it might not end there. There may be a third big rain event, this time involving eastern Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. I'm reading this article from patch.com. It's titled, Flood Risk Increases, 2 inches of rain per hour possible in eastern Pennsylvania. Significant flash floods are possible as a second day of severe rain and severe heat swamps the Philly region. This article goes on to say an even more powerful wave of storms from the remnants of Tropical Storm Chantel will hit the greater Philadelphia area on Tuesday and Wednesday, potentially causing major flooding, road closures, and significantly impacting travel. Storms will arrive Tuesday afternoon and will continue into the evening. All of southeastern Pennsylvania is under a flood watch from 2 p.m. around when the storms are expected to arrive until midnight. Showers and thunderstorms with heavy rainfall could lead to flash flooding, including road closures along with damaging winds, the National Weather Service said in their latest briefing. So again, this comes at very interesting timing, and I'll go ahead and say why. Now, if you're not aware, over in Philadelphia, there is a District Council 33 strike. Couldn't be any other number, has to be District Council 33, but whatever. And what that means is that nobody is picking up the trash, and the trash is really collecting over in Philadelphia. It's all in the streets. Reading this article, which was published today, July 8th, and this is coming from Fox News. This article is titled, Trash Piles Up Around Philadelphia as City Worker Strike Reaches 1 Week. Residents forced to dump own trash as negotiations between city and union stall. Continuing to read the article, it says piles of trash overflowed in Philadelphia streets as a city worker strike entered its second week Tuesday. Contract talks between the city and District Council 33, a labor union representing nearly 9,000 city workers, stalled Monday with no plans to continue. Citizens were seen adding trash to the massive piles that overwhelm streets that the city has designated as temporary trash dumping sites. Some piles stretch down an entire city block, creating an overwhelming stench in the summer heat, the outlet reported. And Philadelphia, they are currently facing very horrific heat. But here's the thing, and here's what I find to be very suspicious about this story. Well, there's multiple things suspicious about this story, because if we go ahead and include the rainstorm that's coming, the horrific rain with all this trash, but there are people that are not residents of this location, not residents of Philadelphia, coming to these dumping sites, dumping heavy furniture, big furniture, bathtubs, and so forth. Also, these residents do not have room to dump their trash, so their trash is just lying all in the street. Check out this news clip.
A new problem is also piling up, and neighbors aren't happy about this at all. People are illegally dumping stuff at sites all across the city. CBS News Philadelphia reporter Madeline Wright is live in the far northeast this afternoon, where the streets are clogged with frustration. Madeline.
Good afternoon, Natasha. People who live here in Morrell Park say they've never seen their neighborhood look or smell this bad. Just take a look at this giant mountain of trash stretching from one end of the block to the other. Non-unionized workers are struggling to keep up. This neighborhood drop-off site has become a spectacle, with people stopping to take pictures here at Red Lion and Calera Roads. This is one of 60 drop-off sites where residents can place trash on their designated collection day. But we're seeing more than just household garbage. From Chopper 3, we've seen a bathtub, couches, mattresses, and garbage cans. We're even hearing stories about non-residents coming from other places to drop off bulk items. Officials are now issuing a stern warning to anyone dumping illegally, including contractors who are leaving construction debris, which makes it harder for crews to do their jobs. Violators face a $5,000 fine. They can even take a picture of your license plate and seize your car.
And I want to emphasize, this is not a free pass for illegal dumping around the city of Philadelphia. This is for residential trash only. It's not for private businesses. It's not for contractors.
It's not right. I feel like people are really taking advantage of this. Normally our sanitation workers, they don't pick up furniture. Like, they don't pick up sofas, sinks, counters. They don't pick up these items. So people are really taking advantage, and they're using this opportunity to dump everything out of their household.
So how is this not suspicious? We already have this worker strike in Philadelphia where all this trash is in the street, but the residents, they are doing the best they can to take their trash to this dumping ground. But when they go there, they are being blocked by all these big items being placed by outside forces. So the trash continues to pile up all in the street. And as coincidence may have it, if you believe in these type of coincidences, now there's a rainstorm coming that may be on par with what North Carolina is facing. And even if it's not as bad, it still makes a bad situation even worse because of all this trash. There are even people out there talking about diseases spreading because of the heat, the trash, and the rain. You can't make this up whatsoever. So I can't really see any positive situation when it comes to any flood or flash flood hitting Philadelphia in their current situation. It's like, wow. But on the topic of diseases, viruses, there is something else I do want to go ahead and talk about, another quote unquote coincidence. Now, a week or 2 weeks prior to July 4th, I made a video where I spoke about this website right here that was created by the government back in 2023, or put together anyway by the government back in 2023 and published on April of 2024. Now, I do want to go ahead and make it clear, I was not the first one to find this website. Matter of fact, there were other channels like Richie from Boston, JWTV, I believe Truth Seeker, among others, that were talking about this well before I was. So credit where credit is due, but I had made a video about this website, biodefensecommission.org, which is titled The National Blueprint for Biodefense, Immediate Action Needed to Defend Against Biological Threats. And the reason why I made this video was because there's a very interesting section that talks about this 9/11 style attack that will take place on July 4th, 2025. But it won't be, this attack will not come in the way of explosions, bombs, destruction, but it'll be more subtle. It'll be in the way of, again, some kind of disease that will not be detected until a couple months after July 4th, 2025. So again, an attack will take place, but they will not realize one had taken place, again, until months after July 4th. And what's also interesting about this article is they lay out 33 recommendations. There's that number again. Guess it's just, again, a coincidence. But the disease they used in the July 4th, 2025 scenario was the Nipah virus. You can see right here, laboratory tests confirm that Nipah virus caused the disease, but we still do not know what methods our adversaries used to infect humans and spread the disease among livestock in rural communities. But why am I talking about this? Well, again, as coincidence may have it, on July 4th, 2025, and while this did not take place in the United States that we know of anyway, news had broken out that the Nipah virus was detected in multiple individuals. And so far, 2 people had passed away, and I think 1 is in critical condition, or I think it's the opposite. But still, the Nipah virus has appeared in India on July 4th. The thing is, India, and I get it, India is not a stranger to the Nipah virus. They do get so many cases every year. But to accurately predict when the Nipah virus would go ahead and appear in the news, I'm not buying that as just a mere coincidence. And I'm also seeing now these news articles. Take, for example, this news article from The Sun. Viral threat, teenage girl passes away from brain swelling Nipah virus, considered the next pandemic, as officials detect a second case. Of those who survive, 1 in 5 are left with devastating brain damage from seizures to Jurassic personality changes. While India does indeed receive a handful of cases of the Nipah virus every year, I believe it's like 2 or 3 cases, with 2001 having the most, 66, they are saying as of July 4th, 2025, there were a total of 425 people across 3 districts that have been identified as contacts of the 2 women who could have come in contact at a social event. Among them, 12 are receiving treatment, including 5 in intensive care, while results for many are still awaited. So as I was continuing to read this article, a lot of people talk about the movie Contagion, which has to do about a global pandemic that ended a lot of lives. And a lot of people, they connect this movie to the C-19 as predictive programming for the C-19. But this article and other articles, they're going to tell us, well, no, it has nothing to do with the C-19. It actually has to do with the Nipah virus. And again, I'm reading this article which says, Nipah, which inspired the blockbuster film Contagion, starring Gwyneth Paltrow, is a zoonotic virus. This means it can be transmitted from animals to humans, much like the virus in the film, which centered around a global pandemic. It attacks the brain, can spread from human to human, and has a fatality rate as high as 75%. Scientists are even saying how the Nipah could absolutely be the cause of a new pandemic. And this goes on to say how Nipah is one of the viruses that could absolutely be the cause of a new pandemic. Several things about Nipah are very concerning. And I guess it would be, given the fact that these things are always planned out, like the C-19 and Event 201. Event 201, where Bill Gates, the World Economic Forum, met together in October of 2019 to talk about this future pandemic and what they'll do to quell rumors and push back the pandemic and things like that. And as coincidence may have it, once again, the C-19 have broken out a month later. So this is really no different from this article right here and how the Nipah virus is really playing out. And while there's no approved cures or jabs for the Nipah virus, this came out today, July 8th. Tiny nanobody shows big promise in fighting Nipah and Hendra viruses. So what they want to go ahead and do is inject people with these tiny nanobodies that can reach very hard to reach spots and places to help fight back the Nipah virus. Now, isn't that such interesting timing as well? But again, watch this video because the quote-unquote coincidences keep rolling in because the WHO, they fast-tracked a jab for the Nipah virus back in June. This video comes from the Weeping Prophet.
Called the Nipah virus, trying to find out if there's any. Hey everyone, it's me, it's Jeremy. It's July 6, 2025, guys. So here over the last day and a half, I've been researching something called the Nipah virus, trying to find out if there's any validity to a document that showed up over the last week or two that talked about how on July 4th, 2025, terrorists could use the Nipah virus in a weaponized form to create a pandemic scenario. So I wanted to find out about it. I wanted to know. I never heard about Nipah, and I'm like, oh, okay, let me do some research. The couple of people I talked to initially were like, yeah, it's got a massive fatality rate, a very high fatality rate, but it will stop contagion because people won't be able to spread it to each other because those who contact it will most likely, unfortunately, not survive it. And I was like, well, that's kind of gruesome, but also, all right, well, maybe we won't have to worry about a spread and it will be isolated. Then I remembered variants and mutations, and I looked at what WHO was doing, and the WHO has authorized an emergency fast track for a vaccine starting back in June. And I've tried to share this article, and I've tried to share these articles, and it keeps shutting me down. It keeps taking my videos away and giving me all sorts of weird censorship things not even related to medical misinformation, election integrity, and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, and it won't even let me appeal it. It's like an auto pull. Like there's no appeal process for this, okay? And I've been winning my appeals all week long on everything because I'm trying to share actual documents and like really prove why I talk about the things I talk about, putting the patterns together for you, okay? So I start looking into this Nipah, and of course they've not greenlit for use, but for development, fast track. Oxford and AstraZeneca, I believe, are now developing a new vaccine for this RNA virus known as Nipah, okay? On July 4th, 2 cases all mysteriously pop up out of India. 2 cases on 4th of July. So I was like, this is really weird. This article comes up talking about July 4th, an attack. We have all these threats about attacks happening. JD Vance was just in India out of nowhere. And then boom, we have all these fireworks warehouses blown up and random fireworks being dropped off in DC. And it's just like, this is really weird. It's just got a weird energy to it. So I make the video and I connect and I show it all. I show the article about the warehouse. I show the article about the vaccine. I show the article about RFK talking about wearables, right? Because that was weird. Like they just come out and they're like, we need you to wear biometrics because we got to make America healthy again. Well, if there was an event going on and you were worried about contagion, a biometric would, help that out, right? Also, it made me think about the deportations going on right now. And if everyone was isolated, it would help that.
Go figure. Follow me.